Would you spend $2,000 on it?
Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, and this is a real-world review of the Sigma BF. Now, BF stands for Beautiful Foolishness, and this isn't going to be your typical real-world review of a camera where I go through all of the specs because it's like a real camera, because it's not really like a real camera. It's a fully functioning camera, but Sigma went with the approach of we wanted to create something that was a work of art that basically did two things. Work of art, but also a point-and-shoot camera, but it's part of the L-mount alliance. There's a ton to talk about, so stick around to the end to find out what I really think about this camera. Is it something you should buy, or is it something that you should totally pass on and Sigma should go back to the drawing board on? But what did I photograph? Well, I took it out into the real world into multiple situations. There was a political event in Philly. I then did other street photos where I shot from the hip, took it out to a street fair where I did some portraits of some friends, and of course, I had to take it to the Phillies game, but to do two things. Use it as a point and shoot if I was attending the game, and use it with a different L mount lens, like a 70-200, to see if it was capable of being used in a real world sporting event. Now, when Sigma announced this camera, I sat there and said, who the hell wants that camera? And they offered it to me to review, and I was like, nope, don't want that. But when everybody around the world started to say, that's a cool looking camera, I was like, yeah, I should probably give it a review, being that it's literally just a box that can take an L mount lens. But it goes well beyond that. From a feel standpoint, we know that it's not really designed to be ergonomic and fit in your hands. And it absolutely does not fit in your hands. But what did happen when Sigma announced this is they got a ton of press across the world from places that would have never ever talked about Sigma because they created something unique and different. It doesn't even mean that it needs to be a success because it's already been a success from the standpoint of making brand awareness. Everybody was like, if Apple made a camera, this would be it. Well, technically, if Apple made a camera, which they do, this isn't it because they make a cell phone. They make billions of cameras. They can make 9 a day right now, and I really don't think Sigma intends to sell a billion of these. It's made up from one solid piece of aluminum. I like saying aluminum, and that's why it's very hard to make. Is it pretty? Sure. Does it meet the fact that Sigma says they wanted to make a work of art? I guess it depends on who thinks art is art. That's all in the eye of the beholder. I'm not a big fan of modern art, and this kind of falls into the modern art feel. From the standpoint of how it feels in your hands, not great. It does not feel great in your hands. There is nothing for your hand or your fingers to grab onto.
It'd be hard to hold onto because there's no grip, like action.
You have a little thumb thing in the back where if you didn't have the thumb thing, you would literally have nothing to hold on to because it is slippery. It's not a traditional camera, which is a choice that Sigma made. Now, they put on here an option to put a lanyard on, which I 100% recommend you do. Now, it doesn't come with one in the box, at least mine didn't come with one in the box, but it only comes with it to hang on here. Now, there's a lot of people that want to hang a camera like this around their neck so it can be seen. Or if I want to get my phone out of my pocket, well, I have to then do something with this and move it around instead of just hanging the camera here, which is exactly what Steven does with his Fuji X100 that is on the counter here. This is a small, very popular, super popular camera, but really just having the two straps on the side would make it easier to at least hang around your neck and not just have to hang around your wrist. I luckily didn't drop it during any of my photo shoots, but when you go vertical, if you aren't squeezing it, like it is awkward, it is an awkward thing to try and hold to shoot vertical with this camera. It is a very awkwardly designed camera, but Sigma chose to go that direction. Here's something interesting that happened every time someone saw me with this camera. Basically, everybody said, wow, that's a cool camera.
It's cool.
I like it though, that's cool.
Yeah, it's sexy though, man.
Yeah, it's polarizing. It makes a statement. People don't even care what it does beyond the fact that it just looks good. I look at it as a fashion statement. It does have function as a camera, as a point and shoot camera, but it really is designed for a fashion statement. Think about why you wear a Rolex or why you have a Leica. You want to show off. This is a camera you show off. It's like you want to get pictures of you with the camera more so than actually taking pictures with the camera. There's a lot of people in this generation that love the Fuji X100 line and the Fuji cameras because of the look. And that is one of the things that people said to me is, wow, that camera looks cool. They don't go, wow, does that camera take good pictures? They didn't care about that. They just liked the fashion statement aspect. Let me walk you around the outside of the camera. This is what you get. This is the camera. I chose to put on there a 35mm f2 I series lens from Sigma. All of the I lenses do now come in silver so that they can match this camera. It has an L mount, which means it's part of the L mount Alliance, which means there's a shit ton of lenses that you can buy for it, and why I was able to put a 70-200 on it. And don't tell me that I shouldn't put a 70-200 on it, because that's not what this camera is designed for. It has an L mount. I can put any L mount lens on it I want to. So take that. You have a release button down here at the bottom. This is how you take your lens on and you take your lens off. This is your full frame sensor inside, and for some reason there's a piece of glass that's in front of the sensor. I don't know if that takes away from image quality or protects it. I didn't see any loss of quality, and holy Jesus, is this thing much lighter when you take the lens off of it. It is not very heavy by itself. It's the lens where all of the weight can be found. On top of it, you can see where it says BF. This is your shutter button, works just like any other shutter button. Around the side, we have one input. This is a USB-C port. This is to charge the battery as well as offload your footage or offload your photos from it, because there is no SD card or storage that is removable. You have 230 gigabytes of onboard storage, which is good for 4,300 raw DNG files, or right around there, or 14,000 JPEGs. So that's a lot of files. Some people may want more. I know Steven mentioned maybe, why doesn't it have double that, like 512, because memory is super cheap. I think 4,000 or 4,300 raw files is pretty good. I'll probably be around the computer before I run out of space, and this isn't really meant to be a camera replacement for what I call a real camera. And by the way, real cameras have viewfinders. That's the secret, one of the secrets. Now, to the back of the camera, you have a screen. It's 3.15 inches diagonal that is a touch screen. It does not flip out, it does not rotate, it does not move, it doesn't do very much. And what's interesting is some functions are touch sensitive in the camera and other functions on the screen are not touch sensitive. I'm not sure how Sigma decided to choose which ones were and which ones weren't. I will tell you, shooting outside in bright sunlight is a problem, especially if you put this on a different angle.
I can't see anything. Can't see shit.
How's she looking?
Horrible, I can't see the screen.
Good.
Can't see the thing.
If you want to shoot down low, you can't exactly get a good view of the back of the screen to see what you're doing. So I don't like the fact that, one, it doesn't have a viewfinder. We all know that, but let's put that aside for now. You don't have it, so you have to use the built-in LCD screen. Now, when you're outside in bright daylight, I found myself having to bump up the brightness of the screen, but when you do that, you start to use more battery. More on that in just a second, so put a pin in it. These are the only buttons that you have on the back. Only one of them is pressable, like actually presses like a button. That's the one that looks like a period. You press that, you turn it on. Now, when you turn it on, it makes these other buttons into haptic feedback buttons. And I will say that is one of the coolest features of the camera. They feel like actual real buttons when you press them. So I like that feature. You don't have a way of changing your shutter speed or aperture super fast or your ISO. All of this camera, it's not designed to be super fast. It does allow you to change everything independently, but you can't do it extremely easy. You do have a little screen on the back. It's a little window to the world, except you don't get to see the world. And I actually found that to be pretty useful. It gave me some information like battery or what mode I'm in or how many frames per second. I actually like that little window. It gave me some pertinent information. Now, on the bottom of the camera, you actually do have the ability to put it on a tripod. The problem here is right here. This is your battery. you need to charge it in the camera. The battery life is atrocious. I mean, absolutely atrocious. It's like, it just goes. It's not trickling. It's like a full on, you turn the hose on and this thing starts to run down. I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to use it all day because I was going to run out of battery.
21%.
So what I had to do in certain situations was turn down the brightness of the screen to try and conserve battery to make it through. I think I got home from the baseball game with like 15% left, and I only took like 80 pictures. So keep that in mind, that the battery life is absolutely atrocious. And then I have to figure out how to get it in the hole. Get in the hole. Get it in your home. Oh, I haven't gotten it right. I was not good at that game when you were a kid where you had to put the square peg in the, where did the square peg go? Did it go in the circle, Steven? No. Oh, geez. Another note about the battery is it sits flush to the bottom. So if you are, for some odd reason, on a tripod, which you should never be with this camera on a tripod, you probably can't take the battery out and put another one in. But you could plug it into USB-C to get some extra juice. Hey there, I hope you're enjoying this video, but right now I want to show you our custom Lightroom presets from FroPack 4 in action on this photo right here, starting with Blue's Clues, followed by Brooklyn, C41, Copper Tone, DeLorean, High C, Kaleidoscope, Mel Brooks, Saltwater Taffy, Thick, Tintype, and Wet Hot American Summer. But my all-time favorite from FroPack 1 with one click is Skittles. It goes boom. But check this out. Exclusive and all new to FroPack 4, we have 4 custom adaptive Lightroom presets called Face Enhance, Full Body Skin Enhance, Eyes Only Enhance, which I love, and Background Blur. So look, if you want to speed up your raw workflow, give yourself a great starting point, or you're just tired of other people's presets sucking, ours don't suck. That's why we created 14 all new custom Lightroom presets that you can check out right now at fronosphoto.com/FroPack4. While you're over there, you can play with the sliders to see the befores and the afters. And if you decide to pick them up right now, they are currently on sale. Or if you want to save even more, you can get the Grand Slam bundle that includes FroPack 1, 2, 3, and 4, and of course, Skittles. Now, let's get back to the video. So that's basically it for the outside of the camera. It is minimalist design at its finest. Sigma did a very nice job of creating something super unique, but let's talk about actually using it in the real world. I found myself doing a lot of shots from the hip because I was like, wow, it's not really easy to see what's going on here and I'm not gonna be able to change my settings. So I literally just set it to auto ISO, auto shutter speed, but set the aperture to f2, which is the widest open that it can be. I felt that that would be the best way to get the results that would be competent. I went into continuous AF and just relied on that to find the eye, and I will tell you that the autofocus was very good in this camera. Very snappy, finding faces, finding the right thing. Now, occasionally I had to point the camera somewhere and get focus and get it to grab a box so that I could then move it. Or you could touch the screen, but I found that to be a little awkward to go ahead and touch the screen. But those settings kind of worked for me for 99% of the shoot, unless I wanted to fully take control of the camera, which is a even more labor-intensive thing, which I'll get to with some sample images. But when I went out to the political event, there's this guy who's Poets for Peace. I've met him at the airport before. He makes poems right on the spot. All I told him was, hey, this is called the Sigma BF, and it stands for Beautiful Foolishness. Can you make me a poem? And he did.
Would you like to hear it?
Yeah.
All right, so Sigma BF, beautiful in its foolishness, the future, here now, capturing moments that live beyond memory, a Sigma wave of distinct light's reflection, no viewfinder, hard to grip, but reality in the lens.
Now, I chose not to shoot at the 8 frames a second that it lets me shoot in these situations because I wanted to shoot with intent. I wanted to just take a picture, click, get a picture, move on to the next, find it, and move on. The image quality that I got out of those DNGs from that first setting, I'm very happy with. Now, one of the problems I ran into was when I wanted to put this down low to try and get the water fountain shooting with kids playing in it, I couldn't see the screen when I put this down low. So I was basically guessing, and what happened is my angles were off, and I ended up having to straighten that out in Lightroom to make the picture straighter. Now that's something that I personally don't like cropping, but other people are going to do. It was just hard to see the screen for one, and I couldn't tell whether my levels were straight, but I still ended up with some solid keepers. Now, you know I'm the I shoot RAW guy, and this camera shoots raw DNG 14-bit RAW files. I did not use their, I'll just call them Fuji looks, you know, the Fuji simulators that are not Fuji simulators. I don't know what Sigma actually calls theirs, but you do have the options to do that, and I know a lot of people really do enjoy those. I personally rather shoot RAW, but again, this being a point-and-shoot style camera, to give you the ability to bake that in, not that you can actually wirelessly transmit it to your phone to then post on social media because it doesn't have any of that functionality, is really good. But what I did do with my raw DNGs in Lightroom is I went through FroPack 4 and FroPack 3 and put on the best presets that we make that I thought made the images look good. So throughout this, I edited all of the photos with FroPack 1, 2, 3, and 4 just to see how they worked. One of the things that this camera is missing is in-body image stabilization. Now, most people don't really need it, but in everything from our cell phones to most of the cameras in the world now, all have some form of stabilization that is image stabilization, IBIS. This lens doesn't have it. You can purchase lenses that do have it, but this combination doesn't. So when I wanted to get more creative and go with a slower shutter speed, it made it more difficult to get a proper image. The people are blurry, but static objects that should be still are not static because you can't stay still enough at those slower shutter speeds, which is what you can do with any other camera that has image stabilization in the body or in the lens.
I want to try one in the middle of the street. I want to do a slow shutter speed.
For an example, I photographed my buddy Gump, and the idea here was, all right, Gumper, stand right here in the middle. As the street fair and a bunch of hipsters are going by drinking their pretentious beers and whatever and smelling like patchouli oil are going by, I want to do that at a super slow shutter speed, a quarter of a second, a half a second. And the idea is Gump is now still and frozen, but everybody else is moving around him. I tried again, and I didn't get it to work. I even tried going to 8 frames a second that this camera offers. Now, at a quarter of a second or a half a second, you're not getting 8 frames a second, but the idea behind motor driving at slow shutter speeds is that you hope that one of them is more stable than the other. And I didn't get one super sharp or super stable shot trying to do that. And the lack of IBIS in the lens and the body contributed to that image not being as good as it should have been. Now, being that this is that point and shoot style camera, I took it to the Phillies game using my pass, and I went on the field pre-game looking for different type of images that I could capture. Walked around, found the Philly Fanatic, who did a nice pose for me because the Philly Fanatic is one of the best in the world at doing stuff. But I also used it as if I was a fan who bought a ticket and went around the stands looking for images. I like being put in a box. I like having restraints or constraints put on my photo taking abilities by using a camera like this or using a camera like the Fuji X100, which is a fantastic camera that's a lot less expensive than this. And no, it's not full frame, but it does a lot more. It's highly functioning, where this is not so highly functioning. But when I was going around the stadium, I was shooting with intent, and I knew the limitations that I had, but that helped me get better pictures. That helped me find the images that were there and not just spray and pray and try to get, basic shots. This was really helpful. So there's a bunch of different ways you can use the camera. You can just use it as, hey, look at me, I'm taking crappy pictures, they don't really matter. You're just doing them with a very good hardware camera, right? With the nice full frame body, with nice image quality and nice autofocus. You can then shoot it with more intent like I did walking around the Phillies. But how does it work as a real camera? Because it's part of the L-mount, it's part of the
L-mount Alliance.
So I went ahead and threw on there a 70-200, holy shit, this is heavy, 70-200 2.8 Panasonic lens, which is a behemoth of a lens. You put this next to a Sony 70-200 version 2, and this thing feels like it's twice the weight. It's not twice the weight, but this is heavy. It is awkward It's not how you're supposed to shoot it, but just because you're not supposed to doesn't mean you can't. And what you need to remember is that this only has an electronic shutter. It doesn't have the fastest readout speed. That means that a bat is going to bow. That means a ball is going to bow. But I don't use that as a knock against this camera because that's not what this camera is designed for or intended for. I just wanted to see what I could get with it. And in some situations it missed focus, and in others it did a fantastic job of tracking the subject, and with 8 frames a second, I could get what I could get. It is a competent camera from a still standpoint. From a feel standpoint in your hand, it's incompetent to the nth degree because look at it. It's a box that you can barely hold on to. So that's just something you need to keep in mind throughout this whole thing. It is functioning, but it's also not functioning when you try to hold on to it. From an action standpoint, I didn't expect the autofocus to be as good as it was. It is competent. It was tracking everything that it needed to track. It's snappy. It finds eyes when you're out in public. It finds eyes out at the Phillies game. It finds the face. It does something that I didn't expect it to do. I didn't expect to see the Sigma be able to have autofocus that is at a pretty nice level. It is not great for shooting sports. One, I just look like an idiot holding my hand out, my arm out, and not using an EVF because it doesn't have it. It's capable. I could put a 300 to 600 Sigma on it, but that's not what it's intended for. What I will say, the guts of this, if Sigma was to go ahead and make a real camera, that it would be highly functioning. But I understand why they chose not to do that. If they chose to put the innards of this into a camera that looked like a Panasonic, a Nikon, a Sony, a Canon, why would you then give Sigma a look? That wouldn't have been as impressive to the rest of the world and gotten them all of the views that they got because of the design that they went with. This is a $2,000 body alone. This eye lens, which isn't even the best lens, it's part of the contemporary line, is $639 or $640. You're looking at $3,000 that you're spending just for this. I wish Sigma would come out with some pancake lenses that would be perfect for the BF, because I think that that would be a better option. A 40mm f2, a 35 2.8, just something smaller and lighter, because it's not so much about the photo taking as it is about being able to carry it and get good photos just with what you have. I like this combination. I just don't like the feel of the body. Now, when you look at something like a Sony a7C II or an a7CR, they have a look. It's not as unique as this, but those are fully functioning cameras that you could use any which way that you want to shoot video, to shoot photos. Amazing cameras, fantastic cameras. This isn't that. I don't think the people that are going to spend $3,000 for this really give a shit about those other cameras, because this, again, is a look piece. It's something they want to use to show off. Let me cut in here real quick and let you know that this video is brought to you by Squarespace. If you're looking to build your very own online portfolio, use what I've been personally using for jaredpolin.com for well over 10 years at this point, because it's simple, easy, and affordable, and you don't need to know any coding. To get your 14-day free trial, head on over to squarespace.com/FronosPhoto. If you decide that it's for you, use the code FronosPhoto at checkout to get 10% off your first order. Now, let's get back to the video. So I do have some suggestions for Sigma on how they could make this different or better in the future, and maybe something that's more sought after by more people, but still keeping it from being a more traditional camera that would just be in a muddied industry that doesn't allow them to stand out. You can keep this unique design. What I would suggest is at least some sort of grip, even if it's milled or you sell the accessory. I know third-party people are gonna make accessories for this. I just think that's weird, but if Sigma had the ability to just make a little bit of grip on here, that would be awesome. And if the engineers are listening, I have a challenge for you. Come up with a magnetic option, something like MagSafe that's not MagSafe, but gives you an EVF that you could magnetize to the top of this that passes through all of the digital information so that I can pop it here on the top left-hand side. And if you want to add a flash, you could pop a magnetic flash right here. That is getting creative. That is getting unique. Maybe that is something they can create. Now, at the end of the day, there's two very important tests to get into. That's the sniff test and the wind tunnel test. Let's start with the sniff test. Oh, it smells like Coco Chanel's office. Cigarettes. Yeah, she smoked a lot of cigarettes. But no, it's Chanel. This is like a Chanel piece. It's meant to be glamorous. I love Chanel, by the way. I don't own any because I'm not that type of person. Wind tunnel test. Let's attempt that. Nah, fails it because the wind just cuts right through it because you could almost cut yourself with this. So it's a failed wind tunnel test. So to wrap this up, who is it for? I've already mentioned, if you want to show off and you want a fashion statement and you want a work of art that you carry around, this is the camera that's going to be unique. If you want a conversation starter, people are going to say, that's a cool camera, and you get to talk to people from that standpoint. It's not for me. In its current form, it's not a camera that I personally would buy or recommend spending thousands of dollars to be in a system on. It's not a camera that you use to go do photo shoots. With that said, it's fully functioning and capable of doing so. It may not be super quick to make the changes of the settings. Image quality, very good. Autofocus, super competent and very good unexpectedly, and that's good. The fact that the image quality is good and the autofocus is good means that Sigma is on the right direction there. So I know, a little long video, a lot of solid photos. I was happy with the results that I got, and that's where I'm gonna leave it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Jared Polin, PhonosPhoto.com. See ya.